Alrighty, welcome everyone. Welcome to the UT Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday hangouts are the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name's Johnny Reb. I'm from Southeast Rails. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the UT Mall Builders, the EMAG, the UT Mall Builders live show, and the UT Mall Builders Tuesday night hangouts. We'd like to ask that for the people on the panel, if you're smoking, drinking alcohol, or eating, if you would, please turn your cameras off. And please mute your mic when not speaking to help limit the background noise, echoes and such. And thanks for joining in tonight's show. Well, we just had a show last week, or this past Tuesday on JMRI, so that wound up being a really good show. It was an introduction to Panel Pro on how to basically set up turnouts and how to do a simple line drawing with the turnouts in place so that you can operate the turnouts through JMRI. You got any comments on that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, Barry and Chris both do. I mean, I have spent more time with Panel Pro than every other part of JMRI combined, and I was having trouble drawing a panel. So, and just a couple quick tips, couple quick things that Chris and Barry showed, especially Chris when he went through and actually showed us, step by step drawing a panel, some little hotkeys and combinations and things he was doing. And I've got a small panel drawn now to control the section of layout that I have built so far. So. And I had not done well at progressing at that yet, so I'm moving along much faster now. That really done wonders for my progress.
No, that's good.
Yeah, those guys are both tough at this stuff, and I've spent a lot of time with JMRI myself. Of course, I've had a lot better success in certain areas than others, and mostly because I don't have all the control hardware to actually do things seriously yet. Just Decoder Pro. But Decoder Pro is easy. I mean, there's nothing to be afraid of with Decoder Pro at all. And I've said to many, many people, if all you ever do is use Decoder Pro, you are well getting your money's worth out of JMRI, especially since it's free. But JMRI is incredible if you never use anything but Decoder Pro. But all the additional stuff is really, 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 really impressive. Panel Pro is amazing.
Yeah. I want to say hello to Hawks real quick. He's on the panel with us tonight. Glad to see you come in. Got a couple of viewers out there, so if y'all have any questions, put them up in the Q&A so we can see if we can't get an answer for you. And for those that don't know some of the people here on the panel, we got North and West, that's Andy. Crooked Fingers Railroad is Dude. Hawks, HO Layout, and then Stu Line, and also MC Squared, which is Phil. What's your comments, Stu, on the JMRI last hangout decoder?
Me?
Pro, yeah.
I didn't watch it, sorry.
No.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I said Dude.
Oh, I thought you said Stu.
Yeah, no.
Well, I tried to stay in it, but my internet here lately has been kind of sketchy, so I kept trying to get in it, and it kicked me right out once I tried to get in it. It wasn't a Google thing; it was my internet.
Yeah.
It's really one to go back and watch, though. I went back and watched the panel, just the section where Chris was showing the drawing of the panels again, because it was, kind of progressed along quick. It's one worth going back watching a little bit of if you're going to use those parts. And I am absolutely using those parts.
Believe it or not, Chris really knows his stuff when it comes to the JMRI. I mean, I think that once we get further in depth next year into it,
yep.
We're going to have to bring in some more new people.
Oh, yeah, you better believe it.
So, yeah. So, I mean, there was someone that said something on Google Plus the other day, and matter of fact, the next live show, I'm going to be on there, and I'm going to be really pushing next year's presentations. because they're going to be a little bit more in depth into the JMR stuff. It's going to be more advanced. People
Well,
haven't if people haven't saw the ones that we've done in the last 3 months, 4 months, they might want to go and watch all of those to catch up, so that when they get into it next year, they're not going to be completely lost.
yeah, all we've done is cover the simple stuff. Number one,
Yep.
something that people are not going to realize by watching the JMRI shows is how this thing got started with us doing this. It's all Dave's fault, by the way, but Dave is trying to figure out JMRI, and I'm trying to figure it out, and Chris is trying to figure it out, and Tommy's trying to figure it out, and every one of us are trying to figure it out, and some of us have got further in some sections than in others. I've done pretty good in operations so far, and Chris has done really good in Panel Pro, and we've all spent time with it, and we've all learned it. But realistically, none of us are masters at it. None of us were the developers of it. None of us are, Barry does some actual demonstrations of it. So Barry, more than anybody else, actually has showcased it. But all of us were a bunch of guys who were spending time learning this thing and decided to go put some hangouts together for other people who were figuring it out at the same time, so that we could all figure it out together, and so what we had already learned we could show off. So, I mean, it's going to be really awesome next year when we bring in the big wigs.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
But something people are not going to realize is we were never claiming to be the experts. We were just a bunch of guys that were figuring it out.
Yeah.
Decided to show off what we had figured out and to create a conversation. Dave's point was to create a conversation around this thing.
And we've all discussed that too, Andy. That hey, don't be afraid to go on there and just start messing with it, because that's the only way you're going to really learn. Because and that was the other reason why we started doing these, because there wasn't a lot of videos out there on this stuff,
And especially not on the basics. There's videos on a certain thing and on another certain thing, but not on the general use, on general setup, on the basics. There wasn't at all. And there's not even any great videos that are big and broad like Panel Pro, or they're all very specific. And one thing to look at is one of our early videos. I showed off I'm a computer guy by heart, so backups and things like that are important to me. Is I showed off in one of the very early videos a trick that works great for me, is how to take a backup of all your settings, so you don't have to be afraid to screw it up. By all means, go screw it up, and then just go restore it back to that backup setting. And in one of our early videos, I showed how to do that, and we also showed how to do that with a particular decoder, so that you could get a configuration that was okay on your SD40-2, you could take a backup of it. And then you could go mess with everything on it, and if you totally get way out in left field, just restore it back to where you were. There's a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny that you bring that up, because it brings back my RC days, because we would get a setup in anywhere from the car, where all the suspension is set up, and then the electronics, and we have a backup so that, if we want to try something different to get something a little bit more out of it or whatever, we always have our footprint to go back to.
Yeah, your base. So the idea is you get close, and it's close. It's really close. But you want that little, you really want to fine tune it and get it. There's some particulars you want to get right. You don't have to risk how close you are to try to get better.
You know what? I would like something to come out is a tester where we could put our locomotives on a certain track. I mean, I'd say we'd probably do it on our. I brought this up to Barry too, and put it on the track, and you can do a test with it to know what the kV of the motor is, what load it takes for that motor to, like stall, what it would put off if you stall the locomotive.
Right.
All that. So that, if we had something like that, we could probably speed match locomotives a little bit better.
Well, especially things like back EMF and getting them speed matched when they're climbing a grade and some of
Yeah.
those things. And yeah, there's no good central way to do that. Like I really needed to know what a locomotive would haul up a grade. It was critical for the design of my layout to get the grades right so that I knew one locomotive, could not pull the train up a grade without a helper. And I had to do all kinds of crazy stuff to figure that out.
Well, you could call it the locomotive dyno.
Yeah, that is what you're talking about. And you can do, there are tests out there that will give you some of that data, but they're very disparate. They're very
They are.
separate little things. And some of them are kind of like trying to figure out the load that a locomotive will haul up a 2% grade or 3% grade. That's a really tricky thing to do without building a 3% grade and running a 30-car train up it and seeing what it'll do. And that's, that proved to be fairly difficult. I ended up figuring out a way to do it with a set of scales and, whatever, but it was pretty tricky.
I think the speedometer, the speedometer that like what Chris has and everybody's starting to get, I think that's getting it closer. But I think that if you just had where the condition of that locomotive or each of your locomotives, and you could tie that all in together, I think you could even get it. I mean, a lot more precise.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's critical for some of these things. Trying to recreate certain prototypical operations. Like in my case, I'm trying to prototypically recreate a helper district and the need to have helpers. And that I think I've got it right, but I'm not sure yet. But I will promise it has proven difficult.
Well, I'd tell you one way you can make a test track for testing loads on a grade without having to build an incline. You'll take, say, like two 1x3s or two 1x4s, which would be about 3.5 inches wide. Mount your track on one of them. You take and put a door hinge or small hinge at one end of it, attach it to the other end of the board. Both of them sitting on top of each other. That way you can raise it up, like an adjustable angle.
Yep. That's what I didn't do the hinge stuff.
Have you put that way you can put a piece on the sides there where once you get up to the angle you want, you can lock it in place. That way you can run the engine up the hill and.
That's basically what I did. Put it at a grade, and then I used basically a fish scale hooked to a KD height gauge, or a KD coupler height gauge, little tool, and coupled that to the locomotive and pulled a fish scale with it to see how much weight it would pull. It was tricky, and I'm still not positive I got the right answer, but I think so.
We got a comment here from Miles Hale. Just get it run at the grade. The faster, the better.
Yeah, man. Well, I very seriously limit the speed of my locomotive, so it's 25-mile-an-hour speed restrictions, Mr.
I've started watching some videos here, and most of the videos I've been watching is ones that guys will share on Facebook or something. It's not like I go to YouTube or anything like that. But I'm like, every time I see a train going by, I'm like, I have to hold my fingers back because I want to comment you might want to slow her down a little bit.
You lose me in a heartbeat. If I'm looking at if I open up somebody's video to watch a train and it comes by at 80 miles an hour, I have lost interest really quick.
Yeah.
Dwight, yeah. Hey, back to you. He's watching the football game. It's still ongoing, he says, so I guess he'll be joining us in a little while. Miles, there's a link there if you want to get in on the panel for a little bit.
Well, we got a break in the talk. I just wanted to mention that some people don't have table saws or chop saws, and an easy way to get a nice square cut in your layout room or whatever is I needed a 47-inch piece, so I measured in 47 inches, And
What
then
did you measure that?
I added 1 inch because the inside of my little chop saw here,
Skill saw.
yeah, my little skill saw, that's 1 inch from this outer edge of the guide to the blade. So now I went back 48 inches, and then I put my little speed square on there, clamped it on. This is gonna. Let me put a chair over here so this doesn't hit my glass top desk. That might.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad idea.
There we go. There, that was got something to drop on. So now you just place it right up against your speed square and cut across. So I just wanted to put that tip in there. I found it on the net on how to do it.
Hey, I just came up with a new presentation. Safety on power tools.
Good evening, Miles.
And we need to find us about 4 or 5 guys that are missing a finger to run that show for us.
Well, it worked for me.
Good evening, Miles.
How you doing?
We need to find us about, hey Miles, 5 guys that are missing a finger.
Miles.
We're getting a little echo back from somebody.
Miles probably doesn't have his video up to caught up.
Oh, let's see. I'll bet.
Yeah.
Slide the slider bar, Miles, on your. Or someone's running the show with 2 windows there or something.
All right, now how are we doing? Better?
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That fixed it.
I didn't know how to get in on the cup panel, so I was on the questions, and then they were both open.
So how you doing tonight?
Not too bad. And you were 100% right. That's what I did when I was trying to figure out grades, 50 years ago. I took 2 boards, put a hinge on them, and measured them for grades because I was trying to get the UNA's grades, which were 7.5%.
Wow.
And I could not find a brass engine that would pull itself up 7.5, let alone pull a car up. But yeah, that's the way to test it. Take 2 boards and put a piece of track on it and test it and just see what you can stand.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I needed to know roughly the weight so that I could weight the cars so that after a certain number of cars it could no longer pull it up without a helper. So I'm running a 30-car train. I wanted a single locomotive to be able to pull about 20 or 22 cars pretty comfortably, and with 2 locomotives they can get 30 up the grade. That requires the operators to keep the slack roughly in the center of the train. They have to do their job correctly to do it. If one of the locomotives could pull 27, then the helper only really needs to push 3, and I wanted a kind of balance. So I took a board with a piece of track on it, and I think they're a set of fish scales, hanging scales, and I hooked them to a KD height gauge. Has that little screw on the back side of it that I have no idea what it's there for, but put a little screw, and maybe I even drilled it and put a screw in it, but and put the scales on there and let it pull for a minute and then stop the chain and see what kind of weight that it could actually, how much tractive effort in pounds that it could put out. And I weighted my cars accordingly. And they're heavy.
Yeah. I have a comment here from the professor.
All right.
Actually, got 2. I think he's making a little fun of me being Southern. I did say, hopefully I said skill saw, not scale saw, Professor, but yeah, I meant skill saw if I did say scale. His other comment, of course, for those of us who live in rental, high-rise, or apartment-style houses, even that amount of noise or dust is verbatim.
Martin, yeah. Viva Foam Core. I'll back him up 100%.
I was going to say, Andy would say yes. Foam core 100.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just say hello to Australia.
Yeah.
Professor was very kind to me when I was down there. He's a nice guy.
Is that right? Meet him when you went down to the Australian Narrow Gauge Convention, yeah?
Yeah, he loaned me. He's really good with sound, and he loaned me one of his microphones since mine wasn't working right.
Oh yeah. That was a really good video you put together. Those guys do. And I've said this for years. American model railroaders tend to look at only American prototypes. And you've heard me say this before. We don't look at military modeling. We don't look at all these various other things out there that are exceptional. And the European modelers and the Australian modelers, man, they're in certain areas they're running off and leaving us.
Yeah, they're really good. And to a certain extent, I have to temper some of what I say. That they are super modelers. They do an absolutely fantastic job. But to a certain extent, a lot of them in Europe and in Australia, well, not maybe so much in Australia, but maybe so down there, I don't know. They do an awful lot of the very small micro layouts.
Yep.
And that's very popular, and so, you kind of do what your peers do. But let's face it, Andy, you're trying to do something that's probably, what, 10, 20 times the size of a micro layout?
Oh,
And I'm doing one that's probably 100 times the size of a micro layout. So you have to temper, I mean, I can put a lot more detail in 2 square feet or 3 square feet because I can spend a lot more time concentrating on that very small area. When you go to magnify a project, you got to have to at some point say, that's good enough, I'll go on.
yeah, and there's a balance, and I've said this before. You have to spend your time on certain things, and in some ways you can spend money to make up for the compensation in time in other areas. Buy locomotives that are nice and already detailed, and rolling stock that's already detailed, and I do that because I don't have enough time. If I had time, I'd scratch build every building. I would use resin car kits and put wire grabs on them. I'd build my track the way I do it. I'd build my trees the way I do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's not enough time. So I use cars that are already really well detailed, and I have to pay for them, and they're not cheap. You have to focus your time, and I figured this layout to be fairly small when I started on it, but as time goes on, I'm starting to realize that it's not exactly a macro layout.
Well, I mean, I watched that guy on Trademasters TV, and he did just literally less than a half a square foot.
Yes.
Well, if you're going to concentrate on that, you can do an awful lot of detail. But you only have so many ticks, as I always say, in your lifetime, and you have to kind of quantitate. When I'm already 70 years old, do I have enough time to do that kind of detail in a 2,000 square foot plus railroad? Don't know.
No,
Maybe.
you get a layout to a point where it's adding pleasure to your life, where you've actually got past a certain point.
That's right.
And I've got around that in some ways by building in small modules to be able to bring them to a certain level. But you have to focus. What's important to you? To me, super detailed track work is really important, and I make trade-offs in other areas.
Yeah.
The professor has just put a comment up too. So, is it quality versus quantity, or just horses for courses?
Yeah, it's pretty funny for horses for courses, but the quality versus quantity is a valuable argument, and I am building a larger layout than a micro layout, no doubt, but my way to get around that is to not build it all at one time, and that is contrary to a lot of American builders' philosophies. American model railroaders tend to have this idea that they build all the benchwork, and then they lay all the track, and then they run all the wire, and then they do all the base scenery, and then they do it all. Like, I don't do that at all. I build modules in sections, and I bring them to a certain level of completion, and I progress. It's just and there's all these different approaches, but I have a very hard time trading quality. I'm really picky.
Well, and the other thing is it's an evaluation of what you want from your railroad. If you're like I am, you're more interested in the camaraderie and getting to know people and the association and doing the operations with a group of people,
yeah,
and sharing ideas, then I may not put the emphasis on the detail that someone who is more of an artist and wants his model railroad to reflect his artistic expression. I mean, it's an evaluation. What do you want from your railroad? What makes you happy? It's a hobby, and you want it to make you happy, but what does it take to get you happy?
And how much time are you willing to sacrifice to get there? Because I mean to get to a point where mine's an operating railroad, but it is a hobby. It's definitely not my job, and I'm okay if it takes me a few years to get there. Some people really want to run trains within a month or two, and I'm willing to wait a couple of years. It's a trade-off, and are you willing to take that? It's a sacrifice, too, because I would love to be running trains and moving car cards right now. I love operations, but I sacrifice.
it goes back to what I said too. I'm looking at it from 70-year-old eyes. You're looking at it from what, 50? You got another 20 years just to get where I am.
Actually,
Professor, go ahead.
Never mind.
All right, Professor's got another comment up here. Remember that Miles also saw narrow gauge modelers, where buy off the shelf is really not an option, especially for Aussie type narrow gauge.
That's true.
Then he's got another one here. Let me get this one selected. U.S. narrow gauge, sure. Go mad with Blackstone and Bachman. Aussie and non-U.S. narrow gauge equal far more hands-on build.
No question.
Yep, agreed.
And let's see, Dwight has got one up here. If you retired, then now is the time to do an Andy and take time to do quality. Where at the job, sometimes you had to do it quick, and quality would sometimes suffer.
It does, and I can't wait till I can retire. But I own a company and work 50, 55, 60 hours a week, so I don't have the time, and I have to make trade-offs because I can't spend all the time scratch building every structure or every car. I have to make trade-offs, but my goal is to build a smaller layout now and take those pieces and move them to a new home as I build a new home in a few years, and in 15 years when I can retire, then hopefully these pieces are still, everything I want out of a layout, and it just gets bigger.
Okay, I need a little bit of help here, and while I got Miles sitting there, I know he does a lot of this stuff. I gotta add this peninsula. All of this here is done. All this bench work is done, but I need to add this peninsula on. And he doesn't give me angles to go by other than I know that at this corner I'm 26 inches away from this bench work. This is 43 inches long. This one, what the best way to do this is put this board here, 43 inches long, measure it so I'm 25 inches away from there, and then take this one, which is 60 inches long if I come out and square it out with a 38-inch piece, and build this rectangle, and then from there build the piece I need to come in here somehow, and then just cut the outer piece off. Would that be the easiest way to do it? Am I doing it right to get my angles right?
All right, down where you've got, hard to describe.
And this angle here is narrowed in further than this area. It's 47 inches across here.
Right there, where you just were, the 47 inches.
Yeah.
Is that board all the way across now under your pencil? In other words, have you built that rectangle that runs all the way along that base?
I have this rectangle built, yes.
Okay, all right.
This all along this and all along this.
And you got a plumb bob?
No, I don't.
Doesn't make any difference. Get a little weight, a nut, a bolt nut or something like that, hang it on the string and hang it from that inside corner, and mark that on your floor. Yep, mark that on your floor. Go over with your pencil to the other side then, directly across where you were measuring from. Nope, the other side. Like, it's hard to describe. There. Go to that one, plumb bob that, so you have those two marks on the floor. Then come up where you've got that 28 or whatever inches.
38?
Between? No, the 28.
Oh, 26.
26. Go over there to the other side of that line. The known.
Straight across, Jim.
Go to the known. On that 28-inch line.
No, Jim, your 26-inch line.
Yeah,
go back to the corner. Now go straight across.
Go straight across on the 26. 26.
Other way, Jim.
Now go the 20. There you go. Drop a point there. Now you have the same three known points that you just talked about on the floor.
Okay.
So what I do is I take the board literally. I do my plans full size, but you can do the same thing with just those three marks. Take that board that you're going to use for the, move your pencil a second, I can't see it, which will give you which one I'm talking about. Come up to the one that's angled.
43-inch board.
The 43-inch board. Lay that on the ground, starting there where your eraser is. Measure 26 from that other mark that you had at the end of the 28 or 26 mark, so that you have that board right there positioned, just like what you just said. Then come over to your other side and lay it out exactly like you just described. Then you can put a base. What I would do is I would actually build the box. So I'd come across that base where you already have the rectangle built, put another board across there, yep, and then come up here and take a big piece of butcher paper or something and draw that curved line. And then you could either use bender board, you could use bendable plywood, you could use masonite, whatever you want to make the fascia on that one so that you can connect all that together. And then as much as possible, it doesn't look like you've got any turnouts on this peninsula, correct?
You're right. Yeah, they're down here.
Okay, so you can go ahead and run some kind of bracing across. I would run it at least every 2 feet, which means you'd put one at least across the middle. And I'd probably go from that point where the S-curve starts, so that it has support. Bring that over to the other side. Okay, so that you support those tracks then at the start, the baseboard, the middle board there that I just talked about putting in, and at the end out there where the 38 is. And that'll give you a support board about every 20 inches, maybe a little less.
Okay.
With me?
So you're recommending doing this all on the floor. Is that what you're doing?
Screw it all together, then bring it up, put it in position, and put your legs under it.
Right. I got you.
And you can bolt the two together, either with a drywall screw, or you could use carriage bolts, I don't know how you put them together. I put them together with carriage bolts, but you can put them together with drywall screws if you want to.
Right. My problem is with my handicap, I can't get down on the floor to do this, so I was trying to do it in the air.
All right, then.
I clamped a 1x3 across here so that it'd have something to set on that would be level with this framework here.
Okay, well, it's going to be harder to do up in here, but you could do it.
I was just going to take some.
Then I'd say what you said originally would be the way to do it. Come off your baseboard, come out that 43 or what 38, that 38.
48, 43 here, yeah.
43 out there, yeah, and put a leg on it at the right height so that it'll stabilize itself, even if you have to clamp the leg on.
Right.
Set it at the 26 inches away so that you have that board established, and then take your other one, your 60-inch board, put it on, put a leg under it so it's established, and then you can, take care of the curve and that.
Well, right, and that's what I was asking. So I could build this rectangle pretty much in the air with clamps and whatnot, and I got a finishing nailer that I can take and drop one finish nail in, just to kind of hold things into place for me until I'm ready to screw. Easy enough to loosen back out if I need to.
Yeah, or just drywall screws come out easy.
Right. So just build the rectangle.
Yeah.
And then from there, maybe just take a board across here so it goes from this point across. And then I can add a little support somehow right there.
Yes.
Would that be the best way to do it?
Wherever that curve touches that straight board, then you can just put a reinforcer up.
Right. Well, and I could. I mean, I don't have to have the curve in there. That's just the way you draw it. I could make it right straight across. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it makes it interesting if it's curved.
Right.
Depending on what kind of building you've got to put in there.
That's water.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, I could actually. It's 2-inch or 1-inch foam's going to be there, so I want to put some kind of support. I think I can figure that part out though. Easy enough.
Yeah, okay. But you can build it up on top. If the cabinet maker enemy doesn't want to waste the wood, but in your case, I would waste it just because it's going to be easier for you to build.
Right. Yeah, instead of trying to go from here to here. Yeah, I hate to waste that because that's a over 2-foot piece of wood there.
Yeah, that's right.
Not to mention what I'm going to lose here. Yeah, I agree with you. I hate to, at $4 a board, 8-foot board. I do.
If you could guess even within a couple of inches, just add a couple of inches on where your pencil is there. Come close to it, and then you can trimming 2 off is better than trimming 3 feet off.
Right. Well, I was just the only thing I thought was making it easier to have something to start with before I added this piece in. Is the only thing I was thinking. I mean, I know this is 60 inches. And I could measure what this piece would be, and then go and then measure, I guess, from point to point. So I guess I could probably do it that way instead of wasting.
Figure it out.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to get an idea. The laying on the floor sounds easy if you can get down there.
Now, the other thing you could do is, have you got a table that's about that size? Any of your benchwork that's already in that you could draw on?
Do I have? I don't know. I don't have a table that will go up that high, or even. No, I
No, I
don't,
mean any of
because
the
that,
benchwork that's flat already that you could work on.
oh, you mean this area, these areas here, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're flat, but they're only 27 inches wide. Not
Doesn't make
much
a
room
difference.
really to,
Okay, getting
you know.
complicated to describe, but you could take that peninsula and move it down to just above the word Ross. Yep. And draw it on your existing layout and build it there and then move it over in position where it goes.
Well, that's only 27 inches wide, and this is 47 inches wide.
Yes, but if you if you put that 43-inch board, move it over far enough so that the one end is by the R or maybe a little bit to the left of it, and yes, and it goes up where your pointer finger is there. On that, then it's supported. The other board is much shorter. If it started from about the letter A or C in track, it would be supported just by the 27. And you could build it all right there on that little peninsula that you've already constructed.
I got you. I got you.
And then
So
slide it over place.
Right.
In that case, you could do it with a piece of butcher paper.
See, the benchwork, oops, is already there. So what I was gonna do, maybe it's not a good idea. I was just gonna drill in from the inside of this into that board here. Just drill right into it. But you think I should go ahead and put a header board on it? On the piece I'm making, put a header board to screw into?
Well, I don't know. I like to build them sectional so I could, but then I had to build them to take them apart to take them to clients' places. But I built mine downstairs the same way. It was just easier to build them in sections. But you certainly could build it, right there. Like I said, if you want to do it in midair, you can do it by just putting the temporary legs in.
Right. Okay. Thanks for the help. Sorry for the interruption, but
That's not an interruption. That's what this hangout's about, Jim.
oh, I got you.
Oh, and Jim?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
For what?
Look at the screen.
Oh. Where you at? Let me find you.
You'll find it.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. Well, much appreciated.
Inside joke, he sent a $5 bill when he sent the spiker parts back. He said, go buy a Dr. Pepper.
Well, I figures at least
this, this one's for you, big guy.
Thanks.
We got 31 signed up for Amherst.
Sweet. I wish I could be there.
So far, so good. I'd like to hit 100, but I don't know if we'll make it or not.
Yeah, Professor's got another comment. Take time, sure, but cutting the quality, especially in wiring and track laying, equals never time to do it right the first time. Always time to do it right the second time.
I always thought I was lucky if I got it by the second time. Yeah, that's true. If you plan it out, you should be able to do it the first time. And it is better to take a little time and get it right. Far better, in fact.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, there's a little lull here, so I'm going to pose a question to the people in the panel and also the viewers, so please give me a comment on what you want to do. We've only got 3 weeks left. The 24th is Christmas Eve, 31 is New Year's Eve. There will be no Thursday night hangout on those 2 nights, obviously. The next Thursday night is going to be the 17th. So, do y'all want to try and do a Thursday night hangout then, or you just want to spend time with family and Christmas shopping, or taking aspirin after shopping all day?
I don't have any money left. I can talk.
Yeah, I second that. I've got no money left either. So I can be here on the 17th.
All right. Well, I'll wait and see what the viewers have to say if they want to have a show next week on the 17th. But the 24th and 31, there will not be a show there. So,
Just do one on the 17th. What the hey? Everybody will be here.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go 3 weeks without a Thursday night hangout.
Exactly. Tell them.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have Johnny.
You have to
We have
wait for Santa
Johnny
Claus anyway.
withdrawals.
What's the deal?
All right. Well, all right. I got Dwight saying yes, and Hawks is saying yes. Jason said yes. Miles, Jim, and Phil.
I'm saying
So,
yes to the 24th. I don't have it. I got to wait for Santa Claus anyway. What's the deal?
yeah.
What do you mean? I haven't said a word about saying yes. I was just looking at my schedules. I should be okay.
Oh, I thought you'd posted that in the chat. I saw a chat come
No,
up.
that was Hawk.
Oh, Hawk. Yeah, okay.
Hawk did that.
All right. Well, we'll
But
do one. We'll do it on the 17th. That way, y'all, everybody just have to try and work their way through the next 2 weeks without one.
And just so everybody knows, there's usually a hangout going.
yeah,
Regardless, almost every day. Just look on the main Google webpage and look for a hangout. There's usually somebody got something going somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know if all y'all got your chat open or not, but Dwight goes, "Oh no, Johnny withdrawal." Thank you, Dwight. I feel appreciated now. So you got Amherst coming up, Miles.
Yeah, been cutting wood and casting castings and doing all kinds of things to try and get ready. I think I've got everybody else set up now. I've finally started making my own clinics.
Oh, good.
I only
What you
got
got
6.
coming up after Amherst?
Well, nothing.
Are you going to try and make that show in July at Indiana?
Yes, we'll be there. At least
You will?
as far as we know anyway. We put in to do the clinics, so I think they're going to let us come.
Okay.
But I haven't done anything on my own YouTube channel, so I hope maybe as soon as I get Amherst out of the way, I'll be back on YouTube and put some videos up.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing about 2 a week, but it's gone down to 0 for the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, we get busy from time to time.
That's it. I can't do anything else right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got Amherst coming up. We've got the holidays right here, too, so that's enough to keep anybody really busy.
Yeah.
My son just informed me I got to do some smoking next week because they're going to have a potluck lunch at work. And he's brought some stuff in that I've smoked, for lunch and all, and drives people crazy when he heats it up. They're going, boy, that smells good.
You going to do
I
possum? Possum, or what are you going to do? Muskrat?
I'll probably do a mix, possum, a little roadkill there to, the raccoon and all. I usually go out on, I-85 for my possum because, that way I don't have to parboil it to tenderize it because the tractor-trailer trucks, after they run over it a couple of times, it's pretty tender after that.
Those big knobby tires, they really do a good job with it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But don't forget some of that feral cats you're having a problem with.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, a little flavor change there.
Well, just put a little sweet and sour sauce on it. People think they're eating Chinese. No, I didn't say that. That was wrong. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said a couple of them at work was asking if I could do some kind of smoking. They said I didn't have to necessarily do ribs this time, but maybe a Boston butt. So I said, okay. Guys, last night I was watching YouTube and watching Myron Mixon. You know, he's the grand champion of pit masters, and he was doing a thing on one of the talk shows. I may try that as a stuffed chicken breast. Use a sausage. Cut a hole all the way through chicken breast, put sausage in there, and then wrap it in bacon and cook it. But that's not trained, so I got to get off of that one.
What could be bad on that one?
Yeah. But
Not exactly dietetic, but it would be very good.
yeah, really. Yeah, that's not good. The host of the show go on the sideline here. So I know Andy's been working. He got some new track in. He's been working laying track, I believe it is. Getting his rails ready to go. Hawks, what you been up to lately? Yeah, you must not have a working microphone tonight.
Sorry, no mic, he says.
Ah, yeah, okay.
He's a strong silent type.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're going to be starting out the new year pretty good there. We got you Miles coming in doing some shows.
Yeah, 6 of them
yeah.
next year.
6 of them, and then we got Bill, the track planner. He's going to do 6 too. Y'all be alternating.
Yeah.
And to let everybody know that's in the panel and the viewers that starting next year with Bill and Miles, Bill, the track planner, did when he both of them were on the show last month when we announced both of y'all doing hangouts, presentation shows, that Bill would like for everybody to come on in and ask him any and all the questions on track planning. So he wants to hear from everybody, so get your questions ready to go. Yeah, Miles is going to be doing an interesting thing. He's going to different layouts and doing his show from a different layout every month, every other month.
Yeah, we'll do Larry Alford. He's an ON3 and O scale, the first one, in February. And then in April, I'll be at Steve Freese. Steve, I think everybody will know him when I tell about him, but he was the editor of the NMRA magazine. His wife still is, and he now is the editor at RMC, the revitalized RMC, and he's also on the board of the NMRA. But he's a super accomplished modeler. Actually worked for the Santa Fe as an engineer for a while, and building a humongous railroad in his new house. And we're going over to Louisville, Kentucky for a layout over there. Going all over the place. Going down to San Antonio, Texas, to the club down there. And we're going all over to try and get some railroads and hope we get some really good responses from everybody. And if they do, we'll try and go around the country next year.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know dude gave you an expense account for traveling.
They don't. You were asking about Indianapolis. Well, we're going to be over there in Louisville, in that area. Louisville's not really that far away from Indianapolis. We used to go up there all the time when we lived there, and I've always wanted to go down to San Antonio anyway, so we're going to go down there for the Lone Star Region Convention to Dallas, and then 2 days later we're just going to drive down and catch San Antonio before we head back home. So we're trying to do it in conjunction with trips where we're already in those areas.
Yeah.
And so far that's working real well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot, but I just remembered, Miles. What is your opinion, and what do you think about the I'm going to do a HO layout, okay? But I may have a lumber sawmill on the layout. Yeah, how do you feel about when people say do a narrow gauge, a short narrow gauge line that would bring the logs in to the lumber mill to dump them in the pool. Yeah, kind of running two different gauges on the layout.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier, 20 minutes ago or so. It's whatever's going to make you happy. If you want to do some narrow gauge, then certainly you could do it that way. There were certainly standard gauges that ran lumber, so you could do it as a branch line off of your regular railroad, or you could do it as a narrow gauge coming down and doing interchange service. Depends kind of how you want to handle the interchange between the industrial quote-unquote railroad and the main line.
Yeah.
Both of them have prototype. They're both prototypical. There are railroads that actually did both kinds of operations. So it's mainly, what do you want to do? If you don't want to have to go out and buy extra narrow gauge equipment dedicated to just that, if you want to be able to run some of your switchers and smaller engines up on your branch line, then I do that. If you really want to do some narrow gauge modeling, then I do that.
Yeah, I figured I was going to pay dude a visit. When he wasn't looking, I was going to steal his Shay. Bring it back home. He's not here, so I'm sure he's watching. But the professor put a comment, so does Miles go layout chasing like some rail fanners go train chasing?
Yes, I do. We were talking on a hangout the other night. I really, two things I like to do. I really like to go to somebody else's railroad because I like to see what somebody else is doing and what they think, model railroading is, because the hobby is so diversified. In my opinion, our hobby has more facets that you can do and call yourself a model railroader than any other type of hobby that you can go into, because you can photograph railroads, you can photograph models, you can sorry about that.
Oh.
You can do so many different things that it's just absolutely amazing to me, the facets. You can collect railroad stuff, you can collect model railroad stuff, you can do all kinds of stuff. So anyway, it's so diversified. I love to go to railroads to see what somebody's doing and what they have maybe in their collections or what they are. And the other thing is, Andy and I were talking tonight, I really like to ask him the kind of the prying question, but still it's interesting to know, what do you do for a living, or what did you do if you're retired? Because this hobby also has some of the most diverse fields that people have done when they were out in the real world working. And we're not all lawyers and doctors and candlestick makers. I mean, it's some really weirdos out there like myself who did special effects for television commercials, and professional model maker and teacher, and tennis pro. I mean, these guys do all kinds of things. Have a real good friend back east that was a tennis pro all his life, and he's a fantastic modeler. But these guys do all kinds of different things. It's always fun to hear what somebody does for a living, and then what they do when they come home and want to get away from it. Like Andy was talking about, he comes home to relax, does railroading because it makes him feel good.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I did steel work for 35 years making products for the industries. I was 32 years making sprockets and gears. And I spent 3 years in a job shop. So there's no telling what my layout's going to look like.
Yeah, and again, so long as it makes you happy, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, the only thing you want is your trains to put a smile on your face.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Professor put a comment up since I mentioned my sawmill. Where is the sawmill geographically located? Hauling lumber in Pacific Northwest is far less narrow gauge likely. I'm in the southeast, so, I may do like Miles said. I mean, I can still pick up shays or whatever in HO scale and just put a branch line in.
Are you down close to Birmingham at all?
Not too far. It's probably about maybe a 3-hour drive from where I'm at in North Georgia.
Well, Larry Smith from Birmingham is one of our teachers at Amherst, and he's doing a clinic on narrow gauge railroading in the Southeast. And
Oh,
what a lot of people don't realize is, and the professor may not, but maybe he does, every state in the United States of America, every continental state, had narrow gauge at one time.
huh.
So you can do prototypes. I mean, even the Pennsylvania Railroad had narrow gauge. They all did. And right here in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri, we had a shay. It wasn't narrow gauge, but a shay that ran from our bottoms area up a very steep grade into the downtown area to switch some of our downtown industries. So, when you talk about prototypes and the possibilities, there's a lot of prototypes out there that you can copy and be perfectly spot on for doing exactly what the prototype did. It's all
Yeah.
kinds of options out there.
Yeah, I'm a little far from Louisiana, so I'm in the state of Georgia over here on the Atlantic coast. So I'm kind of up in the foothills of the mountains, the beginning of the Appalachian Trail.
Guys, it amazed me and shocked me when I found out that every state had narrow gauge at one time. So really pretty cool when you stop and think about it.
Yeah, Dwight's posted one here. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, we have a great show at the North Metro MRR Club. It's a really large layout depicting the Minnesota lines and iron ore lines.
As people can see, I'm going off a track plan. This was done by Bill, the track planner. I just thought I'd mention real quick. A lot of people may not know how to use an architect's ruler, and Bill did this layout for me. In all the squares here are 1 inch equals 1 foot. So you take it to find out how long this board is here that I need for my benchwork. You take the architect's ruler, where it says 1 down here, that means, yeah, that says 1. That means it's 1 inch equals 1 foot. And you can lay that right there. Now I know this is over 36 inches, but you can take it to the 3 foot mark, or however long it is. Just have your ending inside the smaller scale here. Unless it's exactly like, say, 4 foot long, it would come out. If the 4 was on this point here, that would tell you that's 4 foot long, but it's not. So I'll slide it back so I got the 3 here on this end, and then I can look down here at this point, and they're in each little mark here is 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3. That's marked 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I know from here to here I'm 43 inches. Is how long I got to cut my board. I don't know if that'll help anybody out, but I thought it was going to be real hard. It's pretty simple to use an architect's ruler. I think I pretty much got that straight, do I not, Miles, on how to use that?
100%.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to put in there in case it could help somebody out.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, while I got you presented, why don't you show them how to measure from one switch to another to get your distance there.
From 1 what to 1 what?
Turnout. When you lay in your track, see how long you need to make the track and all.
Well, the first thing you got to do, I guess, on these is to lay all your turnouts down first. And this turnout here, and I don't know if I can get in close enough to make it
good.
easy to see here.
That's good.
Let me get some light on it there.
That worked.
I know this edge here and this little dot here is where the turnout starts. So all I've got to do is put the 0 on the middle of that little dot, and then I can count over. That's 1.5 inches to this edge here, from this point here to this point here. So I know I got to come 1.5 inches this way, and then lay this 0 on the turnout there. And I'm right at 4 inches from this end, from here to here. So I know from here to here's 4, and from here to here's 1.5. and I know that's going to be 4, so I could lay this turnout here, come 1.5 inches off this edge here and 4 inches off this edge.
Measure that 4 inches again, Jim. I think it was 6.
Well, you know, it might have been my eyeballs. I can't see, but I don't. Yeah, okay, it is 6.
Yeah.
It is 6. Yeah, my glasses, I can't see down there from where I'm sitting. But so yeah, 6 inches. I'm sorry. So I know I got to come 6 inches from here to here, 1.5 inches from here. Pin that turnout down, and then once that turnout's pinned down, then this one can be pushed onto it and pretty much you square up the track ends. You can measure from here to here if you want to see that you've got it in the proper position. That's over 1 foot, so I've got to slide her down to the 0. And that looks like just over 9. I can't see it too with my eyeballs. Looks like 9.5 inches there from this point to this point. So once I get this first turnout in, I can put this turnout in and put this turnout in. And then again, this turnout goes into this turnout. So all this I can pretty much just put right in once this first one's measured. Then you just kind of go from there. And I know I'm 1.5 inches from here to here. This is
you're out of frame.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold this with my finger.
Yeah.
Laying my straight track here. This is going to be on an incline. This is, man, I can't see it. I know that's 1.5 inches there, so I can start my straight tack. I can bring it all the way down. The curve starts, I believe the curve starts right here.
Looks like it.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Biddle if that's where the curve starts. This is all on an incline. It's up 1 5/8 of an inch from down here. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do these curves yet. I'll get some help on that from somebody. But from there I can figure it out. Like I say, I can measure from here to here on this straight track, and then I know the curve starts here and ends here. So I can bring this turnout. Well, this is a turnout here, so I can pin this turnout here, pin this piece of straight track here, and then I just have to bend my flex track around. It should naturally flow the way it's explained to me. It should naturally flow pretty good from here to here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, using this architect's rule, all you got to do is, and I guess on any track plan, is to lay your turnouts down first, get them all pinned in where you want them, and then take your flex track and start laying your track to go from turnout to turnout. Is that pretty much what you wanted me to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
gonna try and lay that out tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. I still got to build this island. That'll probably take me 2 days.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll try and get a little demo piece up for you to show you. Have you ever tried to lay those curves with a spline?
No, these curves here are sea level.
Okay,
These
yeah,
are
no,
sea level, and these are inclined.
yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. When I lay out curves, you need some material that is super evenly grained. Masonite, a thin piece of actual foam, if you can maintain so that it's always the same thickness, about 1/4 inch by 1 inch, or a piece of masonite that's cut, 1/8 inch piece that's cut 1 inch wide. Sometimes I've used basswood that's cut 1/8 inch or a little less thick and 3/4 wide. You just need something that's very evenly grained, no knots, no nicks, whatever on it.
Okay.
Because when that piece of material is bent into a curve, it automatically assumes a spiral easement. You're a motorcycle guy, so you understand this. You know how you go into a curve and you start gradual and then you get tighter at the apex and then you come back out loose, so you've heard loose, tight, loose?
Right.
Okay? That's what you want to do with the railroads because that's how they really laid it. So what you can do is come along on your plan there on that inside curve that you just pointed to. Yeah, right where your finger is. You put 2 or 3 nails into your base board piece, whatever it happens to be there,
This is
so
all
that the
foam.
spline is held upright. Okay? And then you bend the spline around over to where that crossover is, and put your 2 or 3 more nails on that straight section, the part that's closest to the fascia. And then you can take that spline and you can move it in and out, and it will literally change that curve right there. Oh, go back to the middle. It'll change that curve until it gets to where you like the looks of it, and then trace it with your marker. You with me?
Oh, okay. Just lay a center line. Just lay a center line down.
You don't need a trammel necessarily to make that curve, because the bad thing about a trammel is it goes from tangent or straight immediately into the curve, and that's not the way the real railroads or cars or your motorcycle work. You want it to be gradual into it, and apex where that dark black rectangle is on the track, and then come back out as it comes out over to the crossover. So it goes loose, tight, loose as it goes around there. And you can actually take that curve, and you can, once you get it held perfectly straight where your finger is and perfectly straight where the crossover is, then you can sit there and you can move that stick in and out on those, on those nails that are holding at each end, and you can get that curve to where it looks and feels like it's just right. You can actually see it flowing around the corner, and it'll make a super, it'll make us the best running and the best looking curve that you could put in that area.
Well, the question I have is now, this is 2-inch foam that I'm laying all this track on. Will 2-inch foam, I've never used foam before, will that hold? Will a couple of small nails hold that masonite while you're trying to get it bent into that curve without pushing out or deforming?
I don't know. The masonite might be a little bit stiff. That's why I'm trying to run through my mind some other material that you could use. Do you have a way? You got a table saw, right?
Yes. Then
you could strip the foam into probably, I wouldn't do an 1/8, probably 3/16 by maybe 1.
I got some 1-inch foam here that I could just rip a 3/16 off of.
Put about 3/16 and see if you can't get it to bend without snapping. If it will, then you can use it.
Okay.
You'll have, as you draw along it, you'll probably have to put your hand on it, support it so you don't push it in with the pen as you mark it. But you could use a piece of foam. Anything that's evenly grained will work.
Okay.
And a soft piece of foam should bend around there. What are you running? 2-foot radiuses?
That one's a 24, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that one's a 24. Yeah.
It may wind up that where you're starting the curve, both at the crossover and then back at your other tangent place, it may start off to where it's like a 30-inch radius, and then within an inch or two it'll already be at 28, and by the time you get to the center it'll be 24. But it'll be a spiral easement. It'll be a much more eased curve that way than if you just do it, with a trammel.
Okay, so just put it on there, draw a marker line along that, and then use that center line with your flex track.
I mean, to me, it's a much better way to do it. Yeah, the professor says use styrene, and that wouldn't be a bad idea either. I hadn't thought fast enough for that one, but.
Well, if I had a piece of styrene that long, that's pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. I've got some 4x8 sheets I could cut a strip out of, but unless you've got something like that, you really need a pretty long strip to do it, because you want to hold those ends perfectly straight. Sometimes I even take a 1-inch, school rule, a wooden rule, or a piece of wood, and put it there, 2x4 block, anything at the ends to hold those perfectly straight, because you don't want those to have any extra S-curves or anything in them. You want to come from straight to straight.
Okay.
But you can kind of play with the curve in the middle to make it right.
All right. Well, the next question would be
on the S curve.
Let me get it. So So now I've got to go from here, nice and straight, and I've got to bring this around, and that's a That doesn't. I guess that's a little straight area there. It comes back around and then a little
Could be.
straight. So I've got to guess where this straight piece is here,
Well, no.
and where this ends, and then try to bend that around that curve.
Once again, if you take that piece of foam that you cut, it
Right.
should go. It should go from where you're starting down there, around that first curve, up through your straight, and probably it'll be long enough. I'm not counting squares here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it'll go past the middle of that curve easily. Yeah, it'll probably go someplace. Now keep going. Keep going. It'll probably go to right about there, which is just as well, because back where you have that, and I can't read the number.
Well, that would have to be about an 8-foot piece of foam to go all the way around that.
Well, go back a little bit. Yeah, you want about an 8 foot. Go back one square. There, right there, where the straight is going to be. You'll be amazed that when you bend that piece of foam, you will see that in the transition between the right-hand curve and the left-hand curve, there will be a straight. The material will go straight right there at that square.
Okay.
It's a function of the material as it bends. It automatically makes your straight. It will not, however, be as much as you probably should have, because that straight should equal 1 car length,
Right.
so that you don't get the misalignment of the couplers as they go from the right to the left in that S curve. But it'll give you a straight, and you'll be able to see it in the material as it bends, as it changes the bend from one direction to the other. Yeah, see, a car length is going to be 6 inches or so, so you're going to have a pretty good straight in the middle of that.
Looks like I've got that there. It's hard to tell, but
He probably drew it in. Bill's pretty good. He understands straight between S curves.
yeah, it looks like there's 6 to 8 inches there. It's hard.
Yeah, he should have put a car length in there for you. And if not, that other square that's in the apex of the left-hand curve, if that moved a little, nope, come back 1 square. Nope, there. If that square moved a little closer to the wall, it wouldn't hurt anything. You're still going to have an S curve, which is going to look good, but you could diminish that curve coming out so far from the wall, bring it back in a little bit, and that would allow for a bigger straight at your transition between the 2 S curves.
Okay.
With me?
Yep.
Again,
I
if you
am.
bend the material around, and yes, I would cut an 8-foot piece or so to do it with. But you should see that straight form, and you should be able to, again, play with it a little bit to make it right.
Okay. And you think, and I don't think I have any 1-inch stick that's 8 foot long, so I would either have to go out and buy a full sheet.
Jim,
Yo.
you got your Q&A up where you can see it?
No, I don't. Let me,
The professor put a couple comments in there about called yellow tongue. They gave some links to it. You might want to look at that, see what it is. See, there might be something locally that similar to that you could use.
Yeah, that foam comes in yellow, blue, green, white. It comes in all kinds of different colors depending on the manufacturer. That's just, I think he's just referring to a different manufacturer of that same foam material.
Oh, okay.
Anything that would be flat and even grained will work, and you just go around the hardware store and look, see what's there. Might be able to find it.
what is that? That looks like something they use to feed wire through the walls.
Might be.
It looks like fishing leader, wire fishing leader.
A fish tape, like a fish tape.
Right.
Yeah, a fish tape might work.
Yeah.
That would be very flexible.
Yeah, and it's a good small piece of metal that's really flexible. I use blue flexible conduit. Some people call it Smurf tube. Coincidentally, it's 1 inch inside diameter, which makes it 1 1/8 inch, which is the width of ties. So I can put it out on the lap. It makes natural transitions and easements. It's exactly the width of HO Scum Flex Track or handling track or whatever, and I will pin it down with T-pins. And it has these little grooves on either side, and the T-pins naturally set in there and keep it from moving around on me. And once I get it in position, I just take a pencil, mark each side of it. I know exactly where my track goes.
Why don't you show us that, Andy?
Let me go see if I can find a piece of it. Stand by.
All right.
Jim, real fast.
Go.
Dwight's got a comment up here for you. He said, Jim, there's a big curve on a straight section. Is there a reason for it, or just interesting for its looks?
Big curve on a straight section.
He's talking about that same one I was just diagramming to you. And I assume it's for looks.
Are you talking about this here?
Yeah, that's what he means, I think.
Yeah, the
Mount Caspian. They didn't want to carve all the way through that mountain.
That's right.
They
Gotta
cheated.
go around it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go to bed, but you guys have a good evening. Good.
All right, Miles. Appreciate you coming in tonight.
See,
Yeah.
Miles, we don't want to see you turn into a pumpkin either, so have a good
Yeah,
night's
no
rest.
kidding. Take care.
Thanks,
All right,
Miles.
bye.
Okay. Dwight, are you talking about this curve here?
Probably.
If so, that's coming up to a grade. He's got 2.7%, but I'm going to go 3%, and comes back down, and that's just kind of giving us. There's going to be a tunnel from here to here, and there is a. Well, I thought there was a tunnel over here, but I don't see it. So maybe I talked to him about doing something else over here. I don't remember, but I thought I had a short tunnel in here. But that's just to give it some look, something interesting.
Yeah, visuals.
Yeah, visuals for the mountain scene that's going to be along this back wall.
Yeah, and that's a downgrade there too, so you'll be sinking that. Putting scenery in there probably.
Yeah, there'll be scenery from, well, all along this wall, yes. But
This is this stuff.
oh, okay. Let me get my camera there.
Weird coincidence that I found that it worked so well.
What is it?
It has these, it has grooves in it.
Yeah,
Side diameter. I bought the inch stuff.
it's 1 inch.
Yeah, this is 1 inch, which makes it at 1 1/8 inch the width of HL scale track. So if you put a pencil down each side, you've got exactly the width.
So that's a 1 inch inside diameter.
Yeah,
And
they just
what
call
is
it 1 inch.
What is it called?
Flex conduit. It's electrical conduit. Plastic electrical conduit is what it is.
Plastic electrical conduit.
Yeah. And it has these little grooves on either side, which hold, well, whatever.
Yeah, you can put your T-pin right beside it.
Yep, and it keeps it from sliding around on you. And it's easy to bend and flex, but I bent it and then used a big yardstick to rough out my curves. And when I designed the layout, I took brown paper, taped it down to the floor, cut it to the size of basically the shelves that I want, taped it to the floor, took turnout templates and laid them in place, printed them out.
Right.
In place. Taped this stuff down to the floor and got the curves that I wanted. It adds natural ease. It's easy to work with. And then I marked both sides of it, and I had the track. And I designed my whole, I'm a guy who went to school for architecture for 4 years and is an IT guy. And instead of using a computer program, and I used a computer program to kind of get the rough idea, but to get the real scale size, that and brown paper. So.
Well, my thoughts was to go ahead and just T-pen or hat pen or whatever you call it. My turnouts exactly where they needed to be.
Sure.
Just pin those dudes down because I'm using 2-inch foam.
Yeah.
And just leave them right there and then start, figuring out where my straight track's got to go and my curves or whatever, my flex track.
Yeah. And you generally have a pretty good idea where the turnouts go. They may slide or adjust, and mine did a little bit, but you generally have an idea, so you can lay your turnouts there. Now, you have the great benefit of being able to have pre-manufactured turnouts. My turnouts have to be built in place for what it is, so I just, I use templates to get like the straight turnouts and the curved turnouts so that they're a size,
Right.
but still all built in place. And the paper, if you're designing a layout, the paper turnout templates are awesome because you don't have to buy anything, and you can figure out exactly what you want and what works. And if a number 6 right-hand turnout doesn't work or doesn't look right, and a number 8 would look better, or you switch things around and put a left in there, it don't cost you anything but a sheet of paper. And then whenever you're done, count the turnouts, buy them, or build them, or whatever. And,
Right, right.
like I said, I love a computer program. I mean, I used Extract CAD, and I'm a complete advocate of using a computer program to design it. But to actually get it one-to-one, that blue Smurf tube is a godsend. It's a really good tool.
So, did you buy that at Home Depot or any major?
Yeah, Lowe's, Menards.
You don't remember you don't remember exactly where you got it from, because I'm sure I can't call up and say I need some blue Smurf tube.
A lot of people call it. I'm pretty sure I've called it Smurf tube for a couple decades, and normally you can go in and say I need some 1-inch electrical Smurf tube now. But it's flexible plastic electrical conduit.
Okay.
And I mean that everybody's got it. They've all got it. It comes in a big old roll. It's kind of shrink wrapped.
Hardware stores should may carry it too. Be a little bit more expensive than Home Depot or Menards, but
Right.
I don't remember how much it was. I mean, it wasn't expensive, but it's not, it's not a couple dollars either. I mean, it's going to cost a few bucks to have it. I had it for something else anyway. I use it for when I, for doing electrical work. I think it's awesome. Whatever.
Johnny, I just got your invite in.
Okay. Well, I guess better late than never, huh? How you doing, Troy? I see you managed to slip in here on us.
Oh, did he actually come in?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just getting ready to text him.
Looks like he's fixing to work on building a turnout.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. No, we can't hear you, buddy.
No.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I was trying to say, try the automotive store for that.
Smurf tube.
Yeah, we lost your audio again.
Yep.
Troy.
We lost your audio, Troy.
He's probably right, and you could probably buy a lot shorter segment of it too, and not have to buy like 25 feet.
No.
No, not yet.
Now
Try
I
it
think
now.
you got it.
We hear some scratching, Troy.
No, it's showing the mic's muted.
Sounded like we had you for a second, Troy, and then it popped back out.
Yeah, I mean, for what you're doing, all you probably need is a small length of it. It was actually beneficial for me to have 25 feet of it. I could cut it into segments and design multiple segments at once and kind of look at them.
Menards or Home Depot, they may not have the blue color, but I'm sure they've got flexible conduit, electrical conduit, and you can buy it by the foot.
That was pretty cool.
I will look on Home Depot and Menards webpage later.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I probably bought this at Menards. I'm about positive I did. And but everybody carries the same thing, and since I was in the military 20 years ago. We used this stuff back then. Same stuff, looked identical. So pretty common.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
No.
Come on now.
What you building? A turnout?
Yep. Anyhow, Jim, you can get that stuff right there at an automotive store. They come in many different colors.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty cheap too. You can get it in bulk, so you can get it in just a foot. You can get it in 20 feet. You can get it in 75 foot. So I think they come inside of 100-foot boxes.
Yeah, because
And
if you go to Menards, you'll have to buy at least a 25-foot roll.
yeah, and is Dwight Chrisman still in here?
He
Chrisman?
may be.
Because he actually addressed a question up there about weighing down his Microtrains heavyweight cars, asking Andy and I and a few other people, and I haven't had time to get back up on there and respond back, but anyhow, if it was mine, and now I never had Microtrains, I had Concore, and what I did was I actually just used lead weight and actually cut it down and fit it down below up inside the walkways and stuff, because you're never going to see it down inside there anyhow. Not in N scale.
Yeah, and I meant to reply to his comment about that and forgot all about it.
Yeah, I did too, and then I didn't have any time to get up on there.
I know, and I seen his comment when I was at work one day, and now that you mentioned it, I forgot all about it because I meant to sit down and write a comment back. I used to use, back in the day, we used to use lead shot. You know, I'm sure most of you guys have done it that way too. It's really good for coal hoppers and stuff. Take, you know, lead shot, little balls of lead, and glue them in with a thick glue. Epoxy. We used to use epoxy all the time, but these days I'm sure you could use something else.
Here, I got these on eBay, and what they are, they're not lead, they're steel. They're adhesive wheel weights. You can buy lead ones, but there's 48 strips, and each strip is, I don't know, 3 ounces, I believe it is.
Perfect for box cars, but it's really hard to fit into N-scale passenger cars and stuff. And I use those same strips you're using, which I got a really good deal off of some crazy guy.
Well, and these are quarter ounce. Each segment is quarter ounce. So if you can get within a quarter ounce of what you're trying to achieve, anyways, you don't. I mean, you know, they're steel, so they're not going to cut easy if you want to try to get an eighth of an ounce on there. But for what we're doing, I think a quarter ounce is.
Oh, it's plenty accurate. You don't.
Plenty accurate. And this was $16 a box shipped.
The only problem is fitting those into weird places. So I use those same ones, that I got that Troy set me up with, and they're perfect for box cars. But even in HO scale, if you're trying to do an interior, yeah, look at what Jason's got on screen right there. That's what I'm talking about. If you're trying to do like a coal hopper, the lead weights are really hard to get down in there because they're square, and what you're trying to put them down in is not a square place. Or if you have an interior in a passenger car and you need to kind of fill up the floor of the car without destroying the look of the seats and the people through the windows, those lead shot, poured into every nook and cranny you can get them to set in and glued in with some kind of, not CA, for example. We used to use epoxy, but I think this day and age, I think I would use this Beacon Fabri-Tac, which is similar to hot glue. Not hot, just comes out of a thing. But or rubber cement or something. Just glue them in.
All right, Jason. We got
Yeah, for Dwight, I think he's going to want to use lead though. Microtrains cars, when you open them up, there's really not a whole lot of room up inside of there. But I mean, in N scale, you're not going to see it up inside of there. No. On one of mine, what I ended up doing is I took the lead and actually made it kind of so it was I painted it, and I stood it up, and so it was up there in front of a window, and I just went ahead and put a curtain up there in front of it. This right here, you couldn't see the weight. The other curtain was only partially open, and even with the lights on inside that car, you still couldn't go ahead and see that weight up inside there because I put a passenger right there inside the window like he was looking out.
Yep.
So you can't see it. I mean, there's so many ways to hide it. In N scale, you're not going to end up seeing it.
No, you can get away with so many things in N scale because it's not visible.
Yep, exactly.
And really, all it does to be is something that's lead, that is heavy, that it is in whatever shape you can get it in there, and shove it in there and glue it in with something. If it has to be those little balls like what Jason had, which we used to get lead shot, like what people use to repack shotgun shells with. And you can get them in all kinds of different sizes, up to, I mean, you can get them up fairly large, double-aught buckshots or whatever. And,
yeah, the thing about lead is you can always, if you need to shape it, you can take a hammer and kind of tap on a little bit and reshape it too if you needed to.
yeah, it's soft. so you could get it into even tighter places. But that was the brilliant thing about that lead shot, and how we used to pour it into into coal hoppers especially, and it works really good even in I do a lot of my weighting in my coal hoppers in the false coal load. So you could take some lead shot, kind of flatten them out. You can flatten them out, put them up under a flat car. That's the thing I have trouble figuring out how to weight is flat cars.
Well, I hope that answers his question, and I'm very sorry for not getting back to him right away. It's been pretty crazy and chaotic.
I'm really glad that you brought it up and answered this question, because now I feel bad about forgetting about it.
Yeah, and I believe the ones I got are
I will
lead.
be back, guys.
All right.
What, Jason?
I believe the ones I got are lead.
Yeah, they're meant to refill a shotgun with or something, right? Lead shot.
No, these are like BBs.
Oh, well, they're lead too. Which,
Yeah.
if you take a hammer and smack one, it flattens out a little bit. They're lead. If they don't flatten out, they're steel.
Well, like you had lead shot
BBs for a
there.
rifle are usually steel.
Yeah.
Oh.
I use BBs in my paintballs just to help stir the paint back up.
Yeah, if those are a dull gray, they're lead, most likely, and probably came from a bag of shell shot, and they come in all different kinds. I mean, from minuscule, which would be like a number 8, all the way up to a triple aught, which is about the size of a .38 caliber bullet.
Well, knowing Jason, that's probably something he had to pick out of the side of his car where he got shot at. Some mad dad.
The benefits of living in Compton is that you can pick up lead weight anytime. You just got to go drive around for a few minutes.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good, everybody. How y'all doing?
Hey, Mr.
Yeah.
Cobb.
Well, anybody else got anything else they want to talk about, or?
Well, I'll talk about anything. You just pick it out. You know me.
Hey, I'm the moderator. I'll let you guys talk about what you want to talk about. As long as it's trains.
He heard my snicker and corrected himself very quickly.
Now, I got a curious question for you. If you watch videos of, especially the show layouts, how is it that they can make the N-scale has always, when I had N-scale years and years ago, it's got much better. But when I had N-scale years and years ago, it didn't run as well, and most importantly, it didn't track as well. But you see these Z-scale layouts, Z-scale, which is insane to me, running huge lengths of train at crazy speeds over huge layouts, and they run unbelievably well. What weird laws of physics work at that particular scale that allows Z scale to work so well? I'm about convinced they've got magnets in them or something to hold them to the track, because it's amazing how well they run.
Well, I would assume they've probably got what little bit of extra spare space of the cars they have. They've got to have weighted down fairly well.
I'd imagine they wouldn't weight them a whole lot being that size. I mean, Z-scale's pretty small.
Unbelievably small.
And the electric motors in those engines,
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to pull a whole heck of a lot there.
They don't weight them down too much. I've talked to some of the guys when the train shows come around. There's a modular group that sets up at the train shows here in the Bay Area called Baz Boys, and they spell it B-A-Z B-O-Y-Z, Z scale, and they don't weight them down too much, but you're right, they run some stuff that is just crazy, and they run really good, They
Yeah,
run really well.
car tracks. I mean, those guys, the Baz Boys or whatever, is one of those layouts that I've seen the YouTube videos of. They're one of those example layouts I'm talking about, and they run 100-car trains.
Yeah.
With unbelievable precision.
Yeah, they set up the modulars when we have a couple shows here in the Bay Area, and they're located here in the Bay Area, and I've talked to them because I want to do a Z scale, but yeah.
Do you? Are you
No.
wanting to build something in Z scale?
Well, the guys know I've been piddling around with the briefcase.
That's interesting. Yep.
Andy, you've never seen his briefcase?
No, I haven't. I've talked to David on it before. I've been on channels with him many times, but I hadn't heard about the briefcase.
Yeah.
I've been curious about making a coffee table layout or a dining room table layout.
Right.
You know, when you're sitting at dinner and have something to, look through the glass. I've thought about that for all the years that I couldn't have a layout. I kept thinking, and didn't have room for it. I kept thinking about doing a Z-scale coffee table layout, and I've still got a little plan in the back of my mind about what I would do.
David, you've got a picture you can share with us, don't you?
Yeah, I was kind of looking. Let me see if I got something here.
I'll tell you one of the bad trade-offs. Z-scale is ungodly expensive for what it is, but they got a big boy in Z-scale, or a challenge. Yeah. I think it's a big boy. A big boy. It's like 1.5 inches long or something, but no, it's. Now, I don't see Z-scale making a very good switching layout, but running huge trains through the Cascade Mountains, man, it really couldn't probably be much better than Z-scale for doing that.
I'm always looking for that. For my inclines, I think I'm going to buy that Woodland Scenics foam inclines.
Cheater.
Well, it comes with enough that gets you from 0 up to 3% and back down to 0 again.
Cheater.
And that just sounds like it's going to be so much easier.
All you got to do, though, Jimmy, is cut your foam. Just lay your track. Lay the track. Be done with it. All flat. Make it run. And then come along and cut it. You got that little hot knife even, so that it couldn't even be easier. Cut along the outsides of it. Pop it up a little bit. Stick a little block of styrofoam under it with a little glue on both sides. Couldn't be easier. With styrofoam. Especially the way you've got your layout over there in that section where you've got a bench top of plywood underneath it that you could put a little block of styrofoam underneath to hold it up. Just cut your styrofoam and pry it right up. The cool thing about that is, one, you can just lay your track all flat. Number two, you can pry it up and temporarily set the blocks in there and test it to make sure that the grade is not too much or won't be a problem.
Are you saying trying to cookie cut the 2-inch styrofoam and
Absolutely. I do it.
Trying to bend with that 2-inch bend?
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
Yeah, man. I do some really weird things but I am cookie cuttering, if that's a verb. I am cookie cuttering the sections of styrofoam where the track heights differ. Now, all my layout is basically on a grade, but to do that, the actual shelf itself is on a grade all the way around the room. It's a big helix, basically, all the way around the room. But there's sections where the track heights separate by a couple inches at most, and I am cookie cuttering the styrofoam to get that effect.
Cookie cutting.
Cookie cuttering.
Cooking cut.
Cookie cuttering. Yeah, it's a verb. I don't know. It does though, man. 2-inch foam bends. I mean, for what you're trying to do, it bends, and it bends smoothly and easily with an easy. And again, like Miles was talking about, and I am an absolute adamant fan of transitions or easements, as they're called, and not just into curves, but into grades. And cookie cuttering gives you that nice transition up.
No, I don't want to do that. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you weren't sharing there. We just had a blue screen.
Yeah, I know. I screwed it up.
Well, I was just thinking you had a big bright blue briefcase, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to back out of this.
Well,
How am I presenting? Oh, there. Thank you.
no, that was me. I had you presented to everybody.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
This is the live show, so.
Yeah.
So a briefcase.
Well, once you get it up, once you get it screen shared, I'll present it then so
Oh,
everybody can see
okay.
it.
Gotcha.
So if you do a briefcase, would you just have the layout on one side of it, open one side of it, and they just flap over, or would you have the layout on both?
Yeah, that's kind of my plan. I can't find my picture. Shoot.
Or have the layout on both sides of the briefcase and have little joint, little sections of track set in just like modular layouts do, so you can have the layout be larger.
Yeah, Dwight made a comment here that I think probably holds true for the Z scale.
Absolutely.
I think Z scale is very finely made, like a Swiss watch. Therefore, it's expensive, and that's probably the reason why it runs so well.
Yeah, they don't really have like the Tyco of N scale in the Z scale market. It's only people who are doing extremely precision
Yeah.
work. That has to be true. But I'm serious, and like everybody here is backing me up saying, you look at N scale. Yes, there's some great running, great looking N scale stuff out there, but there is a lot of junk. And if you look at a lot of the N scale, even modular clubs that are out there that are running, they're not necessarily running that well, and things derail and stuff. But the guys running these Z scale layouts at the club, at the shows, like I said, running 100-car trains with a degree of precision that is kind of unparalleled, and it's 1 to 220th scale. It's stupid small. All right, man.
All right, Troy's back. Troy's back. So let me get this up here. Troy.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dwight just had a couple of posts while you were gone. Thanks,
Okay.
boys. Y'all are. Yeah, there is a little room there in the passenger car. So I think there is a putty type metal.
Oh yeah, there is. What is that stuff?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what you need is whatever you can stuff into little cubby holes, basically, and that. Yeah, what I can't remember what that stuff is. I've used that before too, though. It's been a long time ago. I forgot about that stuff. Yeah, I see what you're doing, David. That's interesting. Be able to have a little layout. I've been trying. I travel sometimes quite a bit, just not so much here lately. And I have thought about how I could figure out how to build 4 or so little 1.5 foot little feet that I could take with me and have a little switching layout that I could throw out on the desk at the hotel.
Yeah, I heard about the Vikings losing. The kid was all complaining about it. The Queens, they lost. Nothing new. Doesn't hurt my feel bads.
Well, Andrew, I'm wondering, Andy, you could take a full. That's a briefcase. So if you took a full size suitcase,
Yep.
you could. You couldn't really do what you said about open it all the way up and run it into both. I don't know.
No, I'd have to take the little sections out and set them on the desk at the hotel. And I was just thinking about gluing track down to 1/2-inch styrofoam. Just a few little 1/2-inch styrofoam modules with very basic flat scenery on them that I could stack together into a fairly thin thing of multiple levels. And, well, Jason's really into lead over there. Check that out.
What's Jason doing?
Yeah, hold that up again for us, Jason.
Moldable.
A little bit higher, if you don't mind.
Moldable lead weights.
Yeah, that's that stuff that Troy's talking about. And
What's the price on that, and how many ounces is it?
Not much for 846.
You get about an ounce.
Ounce for $8.46.
Yep.
Yeah, and I put about 6 ounces in a car. In a passenger car, I might not put that much.
Yeah, that steel weights that I bought was $8. It was $8 for 8 pounds.
Yeah, Yeah, for $8 you bought enough that you could sink a body to the bottom of a lake with. So.
Yeah.
And I put so much weight in my cars that I could never do that, but maybe for passenger cars. Yeah, and this overweighting thing that I do is, I mean, it ain't like it's my idea. I stole it off somebody else, but it's getting to be really popular. Mike Confalone kind of brought it into popularity, but Joe Fugate from Model Railroad Hobbyist and Trainmaster TV, and he is now adopting that philosophy and going through and doing the massive two to 2.5 times the NMRA recommendation on all of his cars as well. He's in the process of going through his whole fleet and doing that. But yeah, Jimmy, if you'll just glue the track down and then bend it, you can test it. You're not committed to anything. So if you decide that it's too much of a grade, drop it down a ½ inch or an inch and test it again. I like having the ability to experiment with things until I'm sure I like them, and then once I like it, I glue it together.
Well, we got Shane Mason here tonight. Hey, Shane, how you doing? He's got a question up here. I know this is a total switch of subject. Well, that's okay, Shane. But what is your preferred sound decoder, and have anyone worked with the bass speakers?
Well, I'm in love with lock sound.
Yes, sir, me too. Now, there's a few that TCS has some benefits in. They have some better recordings and some different benefits. And Soundtrack's version 4 is going to drop in 2016, and they have some benefits. So it really depends on what you're putting sound in. If you're putting sound in an Alco RS3, which I'm getting ready to do and doing the final research for, I'm putting a lock sound in it, no question. But if you're putting sound in a mountain steam locomotive, TCS wow sound is probably better. Probably. And I have not I'm not the guy to ask about speakers. Actually, best guy to get on and ask about speakers with is the next time Barry Rogier is on a show. He does the tech shows on here. Next time you catch him on one of the shows, ask him, because he's done some kind of creative speaker enclosure work. I watched him on one of the channels here fit a speaker into a little Climax, I think, some kind of little Shay that I wouldn't have thought you could have fit a decoder alone in, let alone a speaker. So.
Yeah, that cheap 60 I have, it's a lock sound.
Here's a plus of lock sound a lot of people don't know about if you're buying it from the hobby shop. They get those in normally with a blank chip, and they have a programmer, and you tell them what engine you want, and they go onto Lock Sound's website, download that sound file for that engine, and they upload it to the Lock Sound chip. And a real great benefit to that is if you change your mind and want to switch to a different air or whatever, you can pull all your Lock Sound chips out, sell your old engines, and then whatever you buy, you could take those chips into your local hobby shop. I'm sure for a couple of dollars, they'll reprogram them with the new sound file that you need for your new engine. So you're not buying sound chips and decoders and then having to give them away to somebody when you decide you want to upgrade to a different engine or air or whatever.
Yeah, I'll back the professor up on this couple comments that he said, and we'll let Johnny bring those comments up. I definitely back him up. There are benefits to each one depending. And TCS Wow Sound has some incredible sound effects in their libraries. And if Lock Sound has a good sound for it, they're one of my favorites. But also, Tsunami has more choices and settings, and there's things you can do with them that you can't do with some of the others.
Yeah, Professor says Tsunami still rules for the fact that they have the equalizer to adjust the various speaker enclosure mounted situations.
But Lock Sound does something, for example, okay, the sound is fine, the motor control is fine, but how they interact is not necessarily prototypical on our models. So a lot of sound decoders have traditionally, and most of them today still do this, when a diesel locomotive takes off with a sound decoder on a model, it goes notch 1, notch 2, notch 3, notch 4, up through to notch 8. That is not how engineers run trains. They throw the throttle up into notch 8, they pick up some speed, they jerk it back down into 3, and they cruise down the road. Or if they're hustling in a yard, they'll throw it up to 8, build up a little bit of speed, jerk it back down into neutral, and coast until they slam into the cars. They also may be cruising along at 10 miles an hour with a cut of cars behind them. That's very true on my layout because there's heavy grades. Locomotive may be cruising along at 10 miles an hour, screaming everything it can possibly do, but it's only moving along real slowly. And that's hard to recreate with most sound decoders. However, lock sound has some manual notching capabilities that lets you say, I want this locomotive to cruise along at 8 scale miles an hour, screaming, running at notch 8 sound effect. And that's hard to reproduce with TCS and even Soundtrax. However, the rumors I'm hearing are suggesting that Soundtrax version 4 is going to have a lot of those features in it in 2016.
Yeah, Professor also has up here bass equals less than 100 hertz. Is that generally what you are aiming for?
I would suggest that if you're shooting for that low a frequency where the human ear cannot tell where it's coming from, do that sound effect with a subwoofer under your layout. And that is becoming a big deal. Broadway Limited just released the Paragon 3 series of sound effects that has the subwoofer capability for those rumble sound effects. And there are ways to recreate that by concept. Well, you don't even concept system. You just take 2 decoders and set them on the same decoder ID, and take that second sound decoder and just hook it to a subwoofer, and you can get those sound effects. And there's no reason to try to get those low frequencies out of the actual locomotive, because the human ear can't tell where very low frequencies are coming from. They just rumble everywhere.
Yeah, Professor also has TCS WOW rules for being the first real full CD spec digital audio capability. And I got another comment here from Shane. Let me get it up here. TCS and ECU both have selectable audio and manual notching.
Yeah, and that's that thing I'm talking about that is critical for realistic, prototypical sound-to-movement operations that has been very hard to reproduce in soundtracks. But I did not know that TCS had as much capability there as Locksound does. But 2 points is that, for one thing, the locomotive I'm putting sound in right now, the RS3, the Locksound Alco sound is first class. And the Locksound decoder has that capability. But if I was when I do my Pacific steam locomotive for my passenger train, I will use a TCS for that. I wish I could just pick a decoder and use the same decoder everywhere, but there's different benefits to different decoders.
Yeah, Shane also posted, I have Locksound Programmer, and I have made a presidential boxcar to play Hail to the Chief. It's over on his channel. And I love the ECU for everything but steam. But steam is hands down TCS.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what I'm saying, and I agree with him 100%. TCS they have really locked. Now, don't get me wrong. I really like the Broadway Limited sound, and I am inordinately picky, and have listened to a lot of Green Frog, which is not necessarily the best quality, but Green Frog videos, and compared them to my Broadway Limited locomotives, and they're pretty doggone close. There is some operational flexibility that I don't have that I wish I did, and I may rip the decoder out, but it sounds good. And Broadway Limited, I think, was using Soundtracks. I think they're heavily modified and built specifically for Broadway Limited, but I think they're Soundtracks.
Yeah, here you go, Andy. Professor made a post here. The point being, when maulers say bass, like bass speakers, they are not referring to the Audio Engineering Society AES definition bass.
Absolutely. And everybody talks about these bass speakers. They're like 1 inch big or something. That is not a bass speaker. If you're looking for bass sound effects, you put an 8 or 10 or 12 inch. Well, that may be overkill, but a little small subwoofer somewhere to your layout and do that. But they sell these little small decoder speakers and call them bass speakers. forget about it. In O scale, maybe. In HO scale, forget about it. It ain't nowhere close to what the Audio Engineering Society calls bass. I agree. Sub couple hundred hertz frequencies. You're not going to hit that.
Yeah. Well, the professors put up a lot of different links here. I'm going to leave them in the Q&A just so everybody can see those and go back to them if they want to.
Yeah. And
Also, Dwight here says my new BL 282 Steam has excellent sound. Of course, I had decoders in there.
Yeah, I am very, very happy with my Broadway Limiteds. I had Paragon 2s, not Paragon 3s, and I don't care. I would go buy Paragon 2s right now off of eBay and save a little bit of money because I know how to get the subwoofer effects without having to buy a Paragon 3. Take a second decoder, put it on the same ID, plug it to a subwoofer. There's a very, very easy way to achieve that same capability. And I think it's soundtracks. I'm not sure, and I've read multiple places and people arguing back and forth about it on online forums, but the most common opinion I've heard is that it is a custom-built sound decoder for Broadway Limited from Soundtracks. And I'm not a huge Soundtracks fan in a whole lot of ways. They're good. There's no problem with them. I'd use them sometimes. But Broadway Limiteds are great. Not Phil.
All right, Phil, we'll catch you later.
See you, Phil.
Right on.
And honestly, I have to say, a whole lot of the manufacturers out there who are producing sound locomotives, I don't like a whole lot of them. I actually bought some PA2s here recently. I really like the locomotives, but I bought them without sound. I'm going to put my own decoder and my own sound on them. I mean, the weight, or the weight and sinks in them already have a place for a speaker, so I can pick my own speaker enclosure and put a lock sound in it. Jimmy found that out with some of his locomotives. He just wasn't happy with the stock sound.
Well, I mistakenly heard in person
Yeah.
a lock sound diesel, and I'm like, really? Where'd all those sounds come from?
I know it'll destroy you. And look what it cost you. You had to move to a different DCC system, and you bought a half a dozen locomotives, and now you're building a whole new layout. All of that started with you hearing that sound effects off the lock sound.
Well, it wasn't just the sound effects. I mean, and those are great, but also the motor control. Watching when a guy turns it on, say half throttle, and the engine just sits there and starts up, and you got your air sounds valves popping off, and all those different sounds, and then the engine slowly starts to take off, and then slowly starts getting momentum. I was Bachman, man. I was Bachman. You turn it half throttle, boom, it took off, and the sound tried to catch up.
Yeah, like a record.
So I was, impressed with all that. And the guy that said he would never buy anything more expensive than $50 for an engine had to eat his words.
It happens, brother, but I mean, you do something better, you get educated about it, and Locksound really does have it right. And I'll tell you, JMRI has made programming the decoder so easy that you can do some of these things that were really hard to do before JMRI, like startup routines. So you can do a startup routine where it turns some lights on, and then and it turns the cab light on, and a few seconds later you hear it start up a little bit, and then the number board lights and front lights come on, and then the cab lights go off as the engineer turns the cab lights off, and then it starts to rumble, and then the compressor starts hissing, and I mean and you can build all of that into the startup routine, so as soon as you take it from speed step 0 to 1, it does all that stuff. And then, and you've got another 127 speed steps to go through. But, yeah, it's amazing. It's a great time to be in the hobby, I'll tell you.
Is that your first turn out there that you've done, Troy?
Nope. This is, I think, be my 6th one.
Staging.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Staging.
all for staging.
This is the last. You need one more to complete staging or something.
Yeah, one more to complete my staging.
Yeah, because you got to complete the loop. So you got a loop turnout, and to make 3 tracks on both sides, 7 turnouts.
Yep.
So.
Well,
But
no,
that's it.
the other 2 turnouts are for passing for a siding.
Oh yeah. Like right before, like in staging, right before the helix or something.
Yeah, just before the helix.
Yeah, I do
So this way here, you can actually pull a train out, have it sitting there inside the siding while a train's coming down. This
Yeah.
way here, once the train gets down there, you don't have that much of a wait time for the next train to be coming back up again.
Yeah. I do a similar thing in that I have kind of two storage areas on each side of the layout. I have what I call storage. That's stub-ended where I set up all my trains for running, and then I have a staging where I actually bring them out, and there's a turnout right outside of the visible layout. So the moment that you take control of a train, and it's setting in staging, not in long-term storage, from that time to it coming visible on the layout is only about a foot or 2 of running. But I treat those as different areas. The staging only has a couple of tracks, whereas my storage will have 7 or 8 tracks.
All I have to say is this is a lot easier to go ahead and build in Code 70 than it ever was in Code 55 and N scale.
Well, then you really enjoy building 2 6.5 right-hand curve turnouts in Code 83 for me then.
Yeah, your HO Scout trains are going to have a hard time navigating.
You need number 6, Jim.
6.5, right-hand curved.
I'd have to look to see if I could go and find the template. If I had the template and then an NMRA gauge, yeah, I could probably go and build you a couple.
I got a line on 1 now. I got a bid in on 1. So I should be getting, hopefully, I'll get that without being outbid.
You really kind of probably want them to match, realistically. But
No, one's going to be on one side layout, the other's going to be the other. It's a Walters, so, and the Walters looks like they were homemade anyways, really. Except for the ties, obviously, but I bought 2 Walters number 5s, and they just look like scratch build compared to the Atlas.
yeah, they're great. They're much better looking turnouts than they are. I don't like Atlas track. Not because it's not good track. I just don't like the details on it. The bolt or the spike detail is really annoying. I really like microengineering. It looks good.
That's what I'm using on my staging is microengineering.
Yeah, me too. My staging and my helix are microengineering. I like that it's rigid and holds the curve. I can get it right before I ever attach it down. I much prefer microengineering, and I'm using that just in hidden areas because I hand lay all the visible areas just like you do, and it's beautiful track.
I haven't done that yet, so can't say it like I do.
Well, real soon, brother, real soon.
Yeah, well, I finally after today, well, this evening, the better half she ended up having go to work tonight because she wants to watch The Voice, the finale. So oh no. Anyhow, so she ended up working tonight, and so the kid took off and went to go watch the Vikings game. So I went ahead and got the last of my holes drilled through the cement and chewed up another 3 more bits to go ahead and drill 4 more holes.
For that contract,
Yeah.
1850 or something. I mean,
No, I think I got the conclusion tonight, Andy. What I think that they did was, because I mean, I'm popping the screw heads right off, and I'm actually chewing up the screw heads pretty bad on some of these, and these things are actually magnetizing too.
You're using Tapcons, right? Blue Tapcons.
Let me bring up my screen here. Yeah, but you know what I think it is?
We lost you, Trent. Yep, there we got you now.
Okay, can you see all the debris stuck to the end of it?
Yeah.
That's all magnetized.
What?
Yeah, that's all magnetized. That's a Tapcon.
Man, that is chewed up big time too. It just took the threads right off from that.
Yeah, I went through 12 bits. I mean, that's not all of them. I mean, they were literally taking them right off. Here's a couple more.
How old is that house?
This house right here is built in the 70s, but you know what it is?
All right.
You know that actually chews up these bits? I think I know what they did to this cement when they poured it.
Put fiberglass in it?
Nope. This is a iron ore country. This
Ah,
house is built up on tailings, and I think what they did was is they poured tailings in with the cement, with the concrete.
wow.
I actually found some red dust as I was drilling.
Well, the layout's going to be there even if a tornado goes through. That's a good thing, but doggone.
Yeah, I mean, this one section here, I mean, I'm popping off heads and drilling other holes and trying to drop it around. And, you know, you get to a certain point, and all of a sudden that drill bit, I'll just take right off. I could drill right through the whole dang brick, it seems like, on certain spots.
Yeah, you're getting kind of.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because you're like, man, I got an eighth of an inch to go. Come on, just do it, do it. Next thing you know, you can just smell that thing just a smoking in there. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. So then you give it one big last hard couple of shoves up in there because you already know that the bit's gone.
Sure.
Turn around, pull it out, put in a new bit, start all over again.
This may not work, but as a suggestion, when you get to a hard spot like that, back it out back and forth a couple times, then pull the bit out and take some WD-40 with a straw and spray a little WD-40 in there, and then go back at it. And see if that
I
don't know.
tried it.
Did you try WD-40?
Yep, I sure did. I tried everything on these holes, man. I'm done now. They're all up now, so
Oh, okay.
Steel. That's like
thank
what you
God.
have to do if you were drilling steel. Is you'd have to use a lubricant if you're drilling into steel.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I actually used a regular wood a metal bit to go ahead and start drilling inside one of the holes, and I actually drilled in probably a good 16th of an inch, and then all of a sudden it just stopped cold again. Turn around, grab a hold of the other drill, and put the cement bit back up in there. The next thing you know, that thing right there just took right off again. So that's the only thing I can come up with is that this thing here is loaded with iron ore.
That makes sense. No, that's pretty logical. I mean, especially considering the country you're in, etc. So, but you got it done now. A lot of
Thank
cussing
heavens.
and a lot of bits gone, but you got it done.
Yeah, a lot of money. $40 in bits gone. Over $40.
Yeah. Well, anybody want to start an after show hangout?
Yeah, I can go start that hangout that I had going earlier.
Sure.
So, anybody wants to come in, just look on the main page there and look at the last hangout post I made about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and
Right.
that's where it'll be.
Okay.
The Bob just popped in. Now you're going to have to pop back out, the Bob.
I know. I was just over in the other one too.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. Like, oh yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah. Well, I'll give Jim a minute, and he'll have it up and running again.
One last thing before we close out. I backed the professor up on one of the last links he did. He posted a link about how people are using iPhone speakers. That is a fascinating thing that you can buy those things dirt cheap off the internet and use an iPhone speaker in a locomotive. I got to try that.
Yeah. To answer Dwight's question, Troy's not done with the layout yet.
Hold on.
Hold it here. What's that now? What's going on?
Let me find it again. It is Troy's Benchwork done.
No, just staging. That's what I'm working on now. That's just staging. And it's a big mess.
Yeah, his plan calls for the benchwork to be finished sometime in early 2030, about the time we're landing on Mars.
It's pretty much all paperwork. All on
top,
the layout. Yeah, all on the layout. Because I've been going through it and re-going through it, trying to figure out the upper deck. And
Why am I not getting...
Getting what, Dave?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was on.
That's when it happens.
Whatever it is, I'm sure it's because Google don't like you. That's what happens to me. I say something bad about Google, my stuff don't work for a week.
Thank you, Dwight. I try to keep these shows going the best I can. Of course, it's the people in the panels and the Q&As that do all the work, not me.
We're sorry, Johnny. I get rough on you, brother. I know we do.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what? I guess we're just gonna have to put Johnny to work.
I've already retired twice, so.
That's all right.
You got to put a little time in before you can retire here, though, brother.
You ever hear that saying, 3 times a charm?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the pension from this retirement won't be that good.
Yeah, really. I keep talking to dude about that, and he's just not listening.
Nah, well, some of their unending respect, but they don't chew up very well.
Yeah, I think I'm dude's redheaded stepchild anyway.
You do tend to be the catch-all. Anytime we need an extra, somebody to fill in, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done working on my railroad tonight, so.
How'd you get done? Helix
Got.
installed.
Oh yeah, the helix is all put together downstairs.
How'd it
Up
go?
against.
How'd that go?
It's fine. It's all packed up, taped up like it was before, and
Yeah.
leaning up against the wall.
I knew that was true.
Here, I thought maybe you had it together.
Oh no. But if I can convince myself to bring it upstairs, I will. But that's
You know,
sort of
you're
a
gonna have to
plan.
probably convince James to come on over there and help you out with that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just tell me, you only need his help for probably about an hour, not even. Because once you get them first 4 put up, after that, you get 4 corners put on. Doesn't matter which 4 you put on, but 4 corners on. After that, you won't need any more help because that's going to support all the weight on all the rest of them. Because you're going to have to somehow separate all them sections. It's going to take 2 people to go ahead and do it. I just know it will.
Yeah, then it's just all uphill from there.
Yeah,
Yep.
once you get the 4 in there, you'll be just fine.
All right.
Sounds like
Well,
fun.
Jim should have the after show hangout running, so if you guys want to pop in over there.
Well, I'm gonna head over there right now then.
All right, I want to close this one down. Want to say thank you to everybody for being in the Q&A and on the panel. And keep checking in on the YouTubeMileBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, the e-magazine, and the live show schedules. The live show is once every month. The e-mag is bi-monthly, comes out every 2 months. Then you have the Tuesday night presentations, which is subject oriented. Each week is a different presenter. You have Dude, Troy's going to be back next year, and we got Chino and Barry and Mike doing the tech show. Let me see, I lost my place here. Every week, and Thursday night general hangouts, as everyone knows, is each week as well. You can go to the website, sign up for the e-mag to be emailed, notification email to you, so you can go back to the website and download it. It's a PDF file. And I want to say thank you for participating in tonight's hangout. We've had a lot of good questions tonight, and covered some pretty good topics. We got a long ways there. Muskoka, Steve, how you doing?
Hey, not bad.
Just ending the show. We got a hangout going this gym in Michigan. If you want to pop over there.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you over there. And with that, that concludes this week's presentation. Hope everyone enjoyed. We'll see you next week. Next week will be the last show for this year on Thursday night hangouts. So see you then.
How do I find the address for the other one?
It'll be on the